Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another game of the Rugby World Cup 2023. It is currently 3:35 a.m. on a Thursday morning here in New Zealand, but this game, Italy versus Uruguay, we were not going to be missing it as it does have big stipulations for what could happen throughout this group in the Rugby World Cup. Currently relatively close. Italy sitting on 5 points. New Zealand also have themselves that 5, and then France at the top with 2 wins from 2. They will be playing tomorrow morning up against the Namibians. We will also be up for that game. Slightly better time for us in New Zealand, 7 a.m. rather than the 3:45. But throughout this live stream, we'll be looking through at those lineups. Of course, the game is around 8 minutes away from getting started, which is absolutely ideal as it's going to be a very awesome one indeed. And Uruguay, in their first game of this Rugby World Cup competition, they actually impressed a lot of people. They did better than anticipated, and I'm hoping they can continue with that momentum. But looking through at this Italian starting lineup, I think the big talking point that we're seeing for the Italians is the fact that they've had a bit of a reshuffle in their backline, moving players around. It's in a game up against Uruguay, which I would assume they feel they can win relatively comfortably, but you don't want to make too many risks in the starting lineup with a side like Uruguay. Looking through at the starting lineup, it is Fischetti at number 1, Nicotera at 2, and Marco Riccioni as the number 3. Cannoni and Rusa going to be the locking duo for this game, I believe very similar to what they did have in their first match. But I should mention, Italy have only played the one game so far in this Rugby World Cup, whereas most of the teams in their group, other than the exception of Uruguay, have only played the 2. Sebastian Negri at 6, Lamaro at number 7, the captain, and then number 5. That's not a 5, that's an 8. It is going to be Lorenzo, Cannoni. Garbisi at 9 with Tommaso Allen at number 10. Then they've got Paolo Garbisi as the number 12. So that's where a start of the reshuffle alongside Allen, who was at 15 for the last game for the Italians. 1 Ignacio Brix at number 13, and then it is going to be Montijoani Pani out on the right wing, his first chance of the Rugby World Cup, and Capuzio moves to number 15. Looking through at the chat, we have got there, I knew you were a Puma at heart, says Mikhail, and Puma hoodie, wrong team over, it's Uruguay, says Peter, and how's it bro, says Andrew there. I'm doing very well, mate. I'm very excited for this game, mainly because we know how much form the Italians have been in for their last few fixtures, and now they're going up against that Uruguay side that were a lot closer in their game up against France than many anticipated. If they can put together an 80-minute performance here rather than about a 60, they've got a good shot in this game, which is the exciting part of this contest. Good afternoon, nearly good evening from Johannesburg in South Africa, says Andre G. And also, do you think we will see Italy beat France or New Zealand? I think that this game will tell us a little bit of what we want to know, but I don't see it as a huge upset if they do. With the way that they've been playing, there is a chance, depending on the lineup selections of the All Blacks in France. I think if New Zealand and the French go with their top sides, it may be a little bit more one-sided. But if New Zealand and France both go with experimental lineups against Italy, trying to find their combinations by the time they get to that World Cup quarter-final, there is a big chance that we see the Italians do well in those games. Puma Pants as well says blindside. They are, yes. I got the sweatpants on, but I've realised now it's 4 a.m., but it's still 14 degrees Celsius, which is actually warmer than it normally is during the day here in New Zealand. And Uruguay to Nickit says it was there from Andrew, and this should be an interesting game, says Grant in the chat as well. Looking through at the Uruguay starting lineup, though, it is going to be Sanguinetti at number 1, Kessler at 2, and Piccolo as the number 3. I should mention that Uruguay only making the 2 changes in their starting side compared to what we did see in the last game up against the French. Alaiga at number 4, and then Lien Dikar at number 5. Ardo at 6, Chavita at number 7, and Diana at number 8. Arata and Ichiveri going to be those 9-10 combination. It did work relatively well last week, and we're hoping it does once more. Valaseca at number 12 with Inciarte at number 13. Freitas, Amires, and also Amaya, the man at fullback for this match. Those are some tricky names. Hopefully they roll off the tongue throughout the game. This is the first time. I can't predict. I'd have to go with Italy for the win, says Andre. And also we have got there earlier on, how's it bro, from Andrew Neal. Yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you're all excited for a bit of a midweek game that this has ended up being. I believe it is a Wednesday evening game or Wednesday late afternoon game for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere as well as South Africa. Whereas for us down south, it is a Thursday morning game. It should be a very good one. Afternoon, Hamish, from a sunny but chilly Cape Town. It's rocking time, says Ruth. And I have a feeling that both of these sides will start out relatively quickly in this game. They won't want to take too much time to find their stride. Uruguay, we saw what they did in those first moments up against the French. And I think the thing that benefited them was that they were going straight away blazing and they weren't willing to wait and allow France into the game. And that's what they have to do here up against a passionate Italian side that have just finished singing their national anthem. They look fired up. They are ready for an exciting contest. Looking through at the previous fixtures for the Italians, they have had 5 since the end of July. Their first game up against the Scottish, they did lose that. In fact, when we look through, they actually had the 2 losses in a row to Six Nations sides, but outside of the Six Nations teams, they have looked fairly dominant. As you can see, 57 points to 7, 52 to 8, as well as that game up against Japan, at which they did win 42 points to 41. Then for Uruguay, they have had themselves 4 fixtures rather than the 5 last week's game in the start of the Rugby World Cup, 27 points to 12 in favour of Les Bleus. They did beat the Argentina XB, which I think was probably one of the more impressive wins that we have seen from Uruguay. But the thing about this Uruguay team, as you can see, if they're in a close game, they just dig in that little bit deeper and they still find a way of getting over the line to win that game. So I have a feeling if this game goes down to about 75 minutes and both of these sides are well and truly in it, that is when Uruguay may be able to just edge it in the final moments. But of course, we know the experience of the Italians. We know what they can do. And if they win this game, they are well and truly on track of being able, I would say, of maybe causing an upset in this group. Should be a more competitive round this week, says Blindside. Yeah, a lot of the games last week, with the exception of, I would say, one of them, which of course was Fiji, Australia, all of the games were how much is this certain side going to win by. This week, it's about maybe 3 or 4 games of who's actually going to take this game out, which is absolutely fantastic. All well said. The U is muted, so it is Sanganetti. Okay, thank you very much, Mikhail. I do appreciate that because I don't normally get feedback on the Uruguayan names, so that is very helpful. Indeed, hi all in Hamish, says Robert. Thank you very much for being here, Robert. And also, I'm going to say Uruguay too good for Italy in this one. What do you think, says Rupert? I think it's going to be a close game. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see who manages to get themselves the 4 or 5 points. And this one, I've been reading a lot of bot comments. They are so cocky. I just love it when the Irish we Irish do the job. I tell you one thing, Box, we never go backwards and we will be swinging, says Porter. I was actually talking to my dad about this yesterday. And I said, in a way, with how heated it's got between the two fan bases of the Irish and the South Africans, what if this game was a draw? Hear me out. And then after that, the two sides end up meeting in the World Cup final to determine who actually is going to be the champs. Because I feel like both of the sides have shown so much over the last little while that they both deserve to win this upcoming game against each other. But then from there, if they don't get to meet again, then it's all talked about with that group stage match rather than the playoff game. So I'd love to see a draw just to add that tension, add that little bit more story to the rivalry that is becoming between the two teams. And also we have got there, what do you think of the 7-1 split of the Springboks yet again? I mean, it worked last time. They won against the All Blacks by a record margin. It's within the rules, so it's fair play. If it does end up working for them, it'll be ideal. If it doesn't end up working for them, of course, they may have to go back to the drawing board of whether they go straight back to the 5-3 or whether or not they go with the 6-2 for their future games. And good morning, Hamish, says Flanders. And also we've got the best commentator smashes every time, says Ruth. I shall mention Angus Gardner. He is in charge of this game. It will be Uruguay kicking off from left to right to start this matchup. New Zealand waiting in long grass. Yeah, I don't think we're too keen on playing either of the sides, to be honest, because I think they both, at the moment of form, have a decent enough shot of beating the ABs. And the only reason I chuckle is because the All Blacks, their form lately has not been looking too flash at all. Italy never gets better, says John. I disagree. I think over the last 12 months, Italy have looked a lot better than they previously did. The thing is, if you're looking at Six Nations results, that's already a penalty to Uruguay within the first couple of phases. Italy just trying to build. I think it was round the side of the breakdown. Canoni has been penalised. But yeah, the big thing for the Italians is if you look at results, people would say no, they haven't got better because they are still losing games. But if you look at how close their games are compared to how close they used to be, there is definitely improvement for the Italians. It's just a tricky group for them. The fact that they're in there with with France and New Zealand in their group. And Uncle Hamish's dad response, that question, shut up and pour the concrete, says Grant. And there's, oh yeah, we are going to be pouring concrete in about 3.5 hours. So my YouTube day is going to consist of doing this live stream. I did wake up at about 3 a.m. after going to sleep at around 10:30. Then from there, we're doing this live stream. We've already recorded a video, so we're going to be editing that, going away, pouring concrete for a few hours, coming back, doing more editing, and then going to sleep at around lunchtime, or maybe a little bit later if I haven't got everything done. Now, only 1.5 minutes in, Uruguay, a good chance to take the lead in this game. And it is missed. Just away to the side for Felipe Echeverri, and the score will remain at 0. Your score prediction for this match, I believe Italy will get themselves the win. It could be relatively close, though, between these two sides. Definitely if Uruguay are able to show up in the way that they did up against the French in the last game. And Porta the box only goes forwards always, says Stahl. And also Uruguay are the best of the small teams. Romania, Namibia, Chile. Italy are going to get better and better. I say Italy 34, Uruguay 12, says Mark. I feel like that's not a bad prediction overall. What's a tar burger? A tar burger. I have no idea what a tar burger is. I know that in New Zealand, if someone gives you a burger, you probably say, like, some people say tar, as in, like, thanks, that you just shorten it. And thanks for being faithful to the cause, man. Says Robin Wood, no worries at all. I said at the start of the competition, we're covering every game of the Rugby World Cup, and I intend on sticking to that no matter the hours, even if they are at 3 a.m. or so on a Thursday morning, we will still be here doing the commentary on these matches. Currently, some nice phase play for Uruguay, although the ball slapped out of their hands, and now Italy have ended up with it. Garbisi fires it back across now to Federico Ruza. Finds his offload away. This is good stuff from the Italians. Kicked him behind from Capuzio, showing off his pace. Uruguay have to get back only a couple metres out from their line. They're driven down in the in-goal area, and it will now be a 5-metre scrum for the Italians. I can't believe I'm up. I didn't even set an alarm, says Novman, and these Uruguayans are really giving it a go, and Italy must be humble, says Claudio. Exactly right. You can't underestimate this Uruguay side, because I feel like France did, and they almost paid for it. In this case, I feel like the Italians, they've gone with quite a few changes in their backline, and it will either work or it won't, is the two simple options. Currently, it doesn't seem like it's going too badly, but of course, we've only seen one attacking play from the Italians at this point. We have got their still group stage knockout for Italy. They have to be, or they might have beaten Australia had they met. Says John, and unfair that top 5 teams in the world, only 2 will qualify. I'm not sure how they can have New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland, and Scotland playing out for the quarterfinals. Says Andre G. Yeah, World Rugby themselves have said next time we're going to do the draw a bit closer to the World Cup, but it should have been closer anyway. I don't know why they rushed it to try and get it in time, because I feel like the quarterfinals on one side of the draw, they're going to be massive. On the other side, people won't be watching as much, mainly because it could be sides that could have been knocked out in group stages had there been a bit more of a shuffle. We've got their greetings and salutations from the island, says Kevin, welcome in, mate. And Uruguay for the win, says Damon, and hi from South Africa, says Di. And there's, welcome in. Of course, the Irish, they will be announcing their side in the near future for the matchup up against the Springboks. As soon as they are announced, we will be doing a video on that as well, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new, you do enjoy your World Cup news, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. A video between Argentina and Samoa's lineups are also just around the corner for us. That's going to be the advantage to Italy. They did dominate in that scrum, and now the backline starting to fire. Juan Inacio Brix goes for the kick in behind. I would say that a few of those Italians may have been offside, so they will go back for the original penalty. Good afternoon, all CSKP. Welcome in. Uruguay looks strong. I'm going to back these South American guys. Italy can hold their own, but maybe discipline is going to be the downfall of Italy, says Roof. And Australia need a new head coach, mate. What will it take for people to get it? Game against South Africa, says Chronic Underachiever. I think the thing is, though, at some point, I believe for the Australians, you've got to look at the history and you've got to look at it as maybe it's not completely the coach, if that makes sense. Like, you don't coach a team to give away 18 penalties in a game. There's just no way that is the tactic that they were looking at throughout that game up against the Fijians. They won their game up against Georgia, which I felt they did very well in. I'm curious to know how they go up against Wales this weekend, but it's been talked about a lot, the coach for the Wallabies, and I start to look at those players and wonder, you know, they're getting beaten by New Zealand sides every week in Super Rugby. Is it just the player pool for the Australians? Do they need to look at that and look at the fact that so many great players are going to league rather than joining rugby union? I believe that is very close to a try for the Italians. Looked like the player rolled over. It's just that question mark of whether there's a clear grounding. TMO Time says, John, and they did it to give Italy or England a guaranteed playoff or quarterfinal playoff. They know what they're doing, says Jan. And Porta Stall means still, says Stall there. Okay, the original on-field decision is no try from Angus Garner, although the Uruguayan player having a bit of a chat to them, Villaseca. Right, Pani was on his back. Did he get it? Oh, it kind of grazes the turf. They're saying maybe no downward pressure being applied from the youngster Lorenzo Pani. He was very close though. I think that was brilliant work from Santiago Arata. That's the wrong angle. We're not going to see it just yet. Australian teams always gave South African teams go. Super Rugby, not New Zealand teams, says John. That's very close. He's holding the ball. He brushes it. I don't think we've ever seen a player... Okay, it's a water. I was going to say, I don't think we've seen a player kind of swipe the ball across the turf without downwards pressure in that regard. World Rugby did the draw so early to accommodate the Paris Olympics next year, says Grant. Is it going to be a problem next time as well, though? That's going to be nicely done by the Italians. And Pani scores the first drive for the Italians, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of talk about the bomb squad, but maybe Andy Farrell has a plan too, something up his sleeve, says Porta. Yeah, I think the thing that we've learned from Andy Farrell is he almost shows no fear in the selections that he goes with, because he does put those top name players out there each and every week rather than going with a side to rest those big guys. He's going, we want to play these men as much as physically possible throughout the group stages of this Rugby World Cup so that everyone is in form as we head forward. And you look at someone like a Bundy Aki, by now most teams would have rested him. You look at Johnny Sexton, by now a lot of teams would have given him a break to try and ease the load for him, seeing as they know that they should be going through to those quarterfinals. But they don't want to underestimate their opposition, and they've worked out that this side that they've got has a massive amount of talent and chemistry together. And mate, is there possibly a scenario where Scotland go through after the big game during the weekend? So the way that it would work for Scotland to go through is if if Ireland lose to South Africa and then lose to Scotland, they would almost sneak it. But I believe bonus points wise, that would be the deciding factor. Although if they have 2 wins, yeah, I think that's the way that it would happen. So whoever loses the game up against the Irish or the South Africans, that game, the only way South Africa can miss out from there is if they were to lose to Tonga. That's the only way they miss out. So at the moment, I would say that the box are through, and it's just that question mark of Ireland or Scotland. But if Ireland beats South Africa, they have confirmed their spot as well. The next World Cup draw will probably take place at the end of 2025, says Mornay. And as long as the ball has downward pressure, it's a try, says KP. And yeah, I think the thing that they were looking at there was whether or not he actually got the downward or whether it was just a swiping blow of the blades of grass. But beautiful turnover from Uruguay in the breakdown just outside of the 22 of the Italians now. To give it off to Inciarte out by the wing. And Uruguay, they have got a man down way out on the left-hand side. A bet on Italy to win here, says Stull. I did see that Uruguay came in as $7 underdogs compared to the Italians about $1.08. So it's actually closer in this game, they feel, than Japan versus England was going to be. Now going off to the left-hand side again for Uruguay. Looks like they're running a second meter going to the field. This might be a broken nose scenario for one of the Uruguayans players. That is a knock-on, though, from Uruguay. And now It will be the scrum, but we are 9 minutes in. It's been a physical encounter. I think that was Vaseline that they're trying to put on, so that's just a bit of a cut on the nose. The Uruguayan player. Yeah, it looks like he's taken a knock to the side of the nose there. I'm not too sure when the contact did happen. Who's that nice looking fly half for Uruguay, Hamish? Is he good with the boots, says Ruth? So here's he's Felipe Echeverri. He's currently sitting 0 from 1. Oh, where's the bloody student die, Hamish? And the dry cleaners for the bot game, says Vagabond. We'll go with that. Whoa, his nose looks a little bit broken. But maybe not. Maybe he's just cut right down there. Okay, they just want to check this one. But yeah, we will have the suit on for the Bok versus Ireland game. Who's the referee for this match? It is Angus Gardner. And there. One Nation complains about refs most whenever they lose. South Africa says Porter. It could be, oh yeah, that's hurt the nose. I think he was over the ball and just gets his nose crunched with a shoulder by the looks of there from Sebastian Negri. This might be a bit of trouble. Although, to be fair, if you're going with the argument of the referees and whatnot, Johnny Sexton is the player who got suspended for arguing with a referee in a game he wasn't even in, which is pretty impressive. I don't think I've seen that too often from players, but Johnny Sexton, he found a way of making it a reality. Gushin Jack says KP, he might need it just because he got his head crunched in between two solid Italian players. I've got to ask the question here whether or not this is bad enough to be a yellow. Penalty only, says Angus Gardner. See, this is where the consistency of the World Cup, we have to ask the question, would this have been given as a penalty in another game, or would it have been a yellow card? Yeah, it's got there, even if South Africa lose to Ireland, they can still take the cup. Like the last Rugby World Cup, says Stull, and Australia have always been searching for a saviour of a coach. Perhaps next Easter they might get lucky, says Blindside. That player just wanted a nose like Quagga Smith. Well, he's on how many times has Quagga Smith broken his nose? Out of curiosity, Grant. Because, like, I don't want to judge the bloke for the shape of his nose, because my nose isn't exactly looking like it hasn't been broken before, but, like, it looks like he has broken it, and then he's just got used to flicking it back in. Okay. There's head contact with the face, which is why it's a penalty, but it's only low degree of danger, says Angus Gardner. So it is going to be an Uruguayan penalty. What time's Mini England play in the box, says Gareth. So it's 8 a.m. New Zealand time, but I think that is, what is that time? I think it's still only 9 p.m. South African time in terms of the conversion. We've got daylight saving in New Zealand soon, which makes it a little bit more confusing. But yeah, I think we are going an hour forward, so the games are going to be slightly later. Okay, line out throw for Los Teros. I've decided to go for the corner here rather than going for the 3 points. Maybe because the kick did miss, or maybe because they feel that they've got the Italians under a bit more pressure. Searching for the ball at the back. They may not need it. Yes, now they do. Only a metre short of the line. Trying to get over the ball. Keeping it in there. Italy are. And it will now be their scrum. And Porter, SA never cries at any decision. They just get on with it, says Stahl. Grant is a South African viewer that we've had for a long time. I'll let you answer that one, Grant, of whether or not that is true or false. Mainly because it's better when you say it. And what, England, or what are you on about? Says Porter, and 9 p.m. here in South Africa, and it's nearly 6 p.m. here in Cape Town. Nice to listen to the soothing sounds of Hamish. Day off work for me. I need a glass of white crispy wine, says Ruth. I was born with a broken nose, says Vagabond. Great work from the Italians, keeping that ball in the rolling maul. It was a risk from Uruguay to go for the corner. We've got to remember they were also down by 7 points, so they needed some form of scoring relatively quickly. The Italians are sitting 875 kgs in their 4-pack. Uruguay 859, so a little bit lighter. Can Italy beat New Zealand, says Chris? I think that if the Italians are firing the way that they've got the potential of firing, and if New Zealand can't sort out their discipline and their handling, it could be a relatively close game between the two sides, 6 p.m. here, Hamish says Stull. And there as well. Yeah, so I think you guys don't have daylight saving, though, that I know of. So, yeah, I think your game for up against the Irish is at 9 p.m, if I'm correct. And Hamish, I broke my nose playing for Hackney Rugby Club. Someone knocked it when I played for Durban Collegians. Would you believe it? Straightened, says Mark. Does that mean that you just decided to leave it after the game up against Hackney? Or did they try and fix it? I guess with a nose, it's really hard to try and put it in the right place. Because the nose, there's a part of the nose that isn't a bone, isn't there? This is going to make me sound stupid to a certain extent, but like there's a nose bone there and then the rest of it is like cartilage. Is it cartilage? I should have paid more attention in school, shouldn't I? Just in case this moment happened. We South Africans are unhinged. The ref is always wrong. However, none of our players ever copped a ban for abusing the ref in the game. He was not even playing, says Grant. Yes, I left it, says Mark. In Italy by 13, says Amanda. And the Peanuts, is going to be fun. Come on, Uruguay, says Ruth. So the first scrum, we did see Italy win themselves the penalty. Now 5 metres out from their own line here. That looked like it was moving quite a bit. And now big push again. The front row of Uruguay folding, using this backline. Capuzio in the midfield, although he is playing out on the right wing rather than fullback. Or sorry, he's playing out on fullback rather than right wing. Cartilage is correct, says Yoni. Maybe I did pay attention in school more than I first anticipated. I remember I used to pay more attention in PE than I did in a few of the other ones. Like maths, as soon as they tried to tell us that there were letters involved, I was like, all right. So I didn't really like algebra. I preferred the statistics side of things. English, you had to read books. That sucked. I should mention, if any young viewers are watching, of course, try your best in school because it will help you later on in life. That's what they told us. Man of Italy beat New Zealand. North and South Island will become one. Says Yana broke my nose working. That helper was slipping. A piece of steel fell on it. Lol. Says Stalberger. Okay, the hinging of the scrum seems to be the problem at the moment. Angus Gardner saying you got to try and keep the scrum up or else I have to end up penalising you. From broken to straighten was about 4 years difference. PM Math says Mark. And disclaimer says blindside XP. Exactly right. Do well in school, kids, because it will help you future life. That wasn't even a sentence. That is why you got to do well in school. I mean, I didn't do bad. I dislocated my elbow while offloading during a spear tackle, says Chris. That sounds really painful. Yeah, that would have been great. Halloween. Oh, hello, Hamish. Zia says James Livingston. Welcome in, mate. And Italy is doing well. Stop lying to the young viewers, Hamish. School is pointless. Turn to life of crime, says Grant. Well, I wouldn't agree with the second part or the first, but we did do a term of school. It was called Skills for Life. We learned how to juggle for like 10 weeks. And I was thinking about it, like that could have been time we could have learned how to do our taxes or how to budget. But no, now I can grab 3 balls of the juggling kind and just chuck them around. Which, I mean, it's helpful if I wasn't, like, building. We have got there. Capuzio is outstanding. I'm 12 years old. Says Amanda, so yeah, try your best in school. It's pretty important. And also, you miss school after you've been because you don't get to hang out with your friends all the time. Like, hanging out with your friends is the big bonus of school, and then you just got to concentrate in the more important times. Looks like we've got the penalty shot clock up on the screen. Going to go for Tachia rather than going for the corner. Reading is always the best option for education, says Stull. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, the big ones are reading, being able to do maths, and I guess, like, the other ones, like, I mean, wood tech's helpful, I guess, like, in terms of depending on what trade you want to go down. Like, if you want an office job, you're not going to need to know how to swing a hammer, but then it can help you if you, like, accidentally put a hole in your wall or something. Amish juggling sounds like a halftime show on this live stream, says Grant. I would, but I don't have 3 balls, only 2. So, yeah. Maybe next time we'll have a couple balls around and we'll chuck them about. Did you have any statues in PE? There was one reference our teacher used to call us, the ones who weren't interested. probably a few statues. Like, I feel like overall for our class, once you got to the NCEA level, which is kind of like you have to do things to get credits rather than just doing PE for the sake of doing it. Like, at that stage, there were only about 7 of us. So, like, anyone who was there kind of wanted to be there rather than the ones who just were there because they had to do it. Now, a nice backline. Capuzio, I bet you he did well in PE. Kicked him iron for Monte Ioane. Mate, you're on the field. Tell you what, that is a very interesting scenario. That almost has to be a free kick to Uruguay because the substitute is on the field of play, not watching. It's an Italian substitution. I feel like that's got to be Uruguay's ball because, yeah, Angus Gardner makes a good point there to Andrew Brace because Andrew Brace was going, we need to see whether or not Italy would have scored it had there not been a player on the field. And Andrew Gardner said, well, it's their own player who's on the field, so you can't give them a penalty for that or a try. Never underestimate the Island. They're pretty dangerous on a good day. Bocco had to be alert on the best form for the Irish, says Ruth. When you study psychology and sociology, you learn that life is deeper than you think, says Yone. And that's the thing. Like, is that something that everyone wants to know or only the certain people who want to go down that route, I guess? Well, I'm not a 42-year-old. I'm not at 42 years. Never having used cos, sin, and tan yet. Nah, I agree with you there. Like, algebra, don't get me wrong, when it comes to maths in terms of calculating, like, the basic stuff like multiplication, I should say. Also, alongside that, you know, trying to work out the area, like meters squared and everything like that. I'd say that that's helpful for certain jobs, but yeah, you learn a lot that you won't use, but it's still about learning it, you know? First week's out of college, turned out his father was PE teacher, suffered for a year, says Peter Wild. And wow, unreal, says Blindside XV. Yeah, it's something that we don't normally see all the time. Lawyers will be judged the same as thieves. Everyone knows that. Says Sebastian. Now back into the pocket. 18 minutes into this game at the moment. Beautiful kick downfield from the Italians. I believe that would have been Tommaso Allen, man who had a phenomenal game at 15 in the last contest. We have got there as well. School read, learn to count money and know your history. Hi, Amish and all. Says, can I work? Welcome in, mate. They were preparing you all to be clowns, mate. Juggling really, says Cry. Yeah. But, I mean, there wasn't even like a moral of the story. Like, I thought that it might have been like, if you put your mind to something, you can do it in terms of the juggling. Because some kids could not do anything in terms of the juggling side of things. Like, they'd give you cloths to chuck up, and then once you got past your cloths, you could use balls. But just, you don't need it really in terms of juggling. Like, I guess it may have helped my catching in cricket. Nicely taken. No, he slapped that backwards, Monte Ioane, and actually picked up by Uruguay, who now have a chance. Trying to work out what way to go with this one. I believe it would have been Virginia. Going to the right-hand side. Little kick him on from Echeverri, curling towards the touchline, stays in the field of play for long enough now. And it is going to be going slightly dead. Porter, I believe just listen to the broadcast. It's a beautiful thing, my friend. I love juggling balls. Naughty's is die in there as well. We have got there, you know, that little island next to them. They once the one they gave soup to, says Gareth. And now there will be a new rule, no subs in the goal area. I thought that was already a rule. To be honest, I would have actually given it as a free kick to Uruguay because at the end of the day, like, you can't have players on the field. Oh, what's happened now? Okay, we got a stoppage. I was wondering where the referee was heading, but he was going over to check on a player. So Uruguay, though, will be a 22 dropout for the Italians. In fact, it's looking like they will go with the scrum, seeing as it was a little bit further out on the field, and they will be looking to retain. They've been dominant at scrum time throughout this contest. Life is simple as long as you're a rugby fan, don't overcomplicate it, says productivity by design. Well, that's the thing. I think it was last year, I had no idea what was happening in the world because I was just on the rugby side of things. I woke up yesterday morning and learned that there had been an earthquake about maybe 70 Ks up the road or somewhere around there, but I slept through it because it was at 9 a.m. and I'd been up all night editing. So it's weird being on such a strange time zone, but you do miss a lot during the day when you do go off that time zone. Now Garbisi charging forward. He was playing at number 10 for the last game. That's a turnover from the other 10. Echeverri does get over the ball. Garbisi saying that ball is there. He should probably not try and push the ref or else he's going to end up getting marched forward 10 metres. England might not win the Rugby World Cup, but they have a chance in cricket. Will you also be live streaming cricket? It may depend a little bit in terms of the Rugby World Cup schedule alongside the URC. But I'm hoping to do some cricket. I just don't know whether it will be on the main channel or on the sport channel because normally with cricket we get copyright strikes. We've got there this juggling discrimination needs to stop. Hamish jugglers provide a vital service to the community. Says Grant, that is very true. Some jugglers, they can make people smile, and I feel like that's a hard thing to do in nowadays. A lot of people get angry at stuff. Surely you can't get angry at a guy juggling. Can you? No, you probably can. I feel like there's certainly a lot of videos of people juggling, whether or not it's somewhere they're not supposed to be. Something along those lines. Echeverri now lining up this kick 21 minutes into the game. This would slightly close the scoreline. Oh, he shanked it. It's gone away to the left-hand side, and the score still remains at 7-0 in favour of the Italians. I think they just showed someone in the crowd confused at how he's managed to strike that one badly. Just joined. How's Uruguay doing? It looks like they're doing well here. Overall, how are they doing? Says Mark. They haven't done too badly. The kicking tee has been letting them down a bit. They could have been sitting on the 6 points, but they've been pushing Italy at times throughout this game, which I think is exactly what people were saying up against France. So hopefully they can keep up that momentum throughout longer periods of time in this game as well. Kicked off from the 22 by Tommaso Allen deep into the Uruguay half. Moving up to the halfway line mark of a good woman, a female who keeps her man's belly full and his juggler's empty, says Kernovic. And also New Zealand waiting in the long grass, says Porter. It is hunting, or it's fishing season now almost. When does fishing season start in New Zealand, ladies and gentlemen? Does anyone know? Definitely in the Waitaki region. I feel like the boys and myself might have to go on a fishing trip again. Just stopping in to say hi, says Cool Story Bro. Welcome in, mate. And yeah, hope you are excited for the weekend of rugby that we have got coming up. It's kicked deep from Uruguay into the Italian 22. Montijuani back across to Paolo Garbisi. Got kicked down the middle of the park. Oh, a little bit of a handling error from Uruguay. They were inside of their 22. Whitebait season now, says Blindside. So they've still got whitebait till about October, don't they? And then is it back into the river fishing side of things? 1st of October, says Matt. Yeah, so we have to get down to the local fishing spot. We actually got decent at fishing by the end of last season, but that was because there were that many kawai just locked in to wherever I was, so that made it easy. You literally throw your hook out. Oh, it's stolen. That's a hook, line, sinker, interception from the Uruguayan number 10, Capuzio. He's 10 metres out. His name's Echeverri, but I got excited. It was Capuzio who was back there to try and cover. Now, for Uruguay, 10 metres out from the try line, can they get their first points of the day in the form of a try? It looks like the turnover. No, still on the side of Uruguay. 2 Italian players leaving their feet. That will be the penalty advantage in favour of Los Teros now. Good defence from the Italians. They have got a big forward pack. Now going to the right. Spinning out of one. Challenge dragged down 2 metres from the line now for Uruguay. Ball is bouncing. Looks like Echeverri decides to leave it. New advantage against the Italians. They're right on the verge of scoring here at the moment, Uruguay. Just need one big run from a player. Now that they've got advantage, they may even consider using this backline. But first, Arata leaves it for the forwards. Up to 8 phases. Been told to step back, Italy, possibly getting themselves a little bit offside. The side of the breakdown again. Fischetti makes that tackle. But Uruguay right close to the try line. Can they cross the line one time in this first half? Still playing under penalty advantage. Up to 11 phases now. Italy told to release. Solid defence. Arata. Oh, it was almost a handling error. That helped us side out because it did leave a little bit more of a gap in the Italian defence. They don't look like they want to use their backline here though. The Uruguayan side. They're under advantage and they will go back for the penalty now. Yellow card for the Italians. And it looks like it is going to be Niccolò Cannoni, the man who was penalised and sent off the field. Some more fish murder for the Kiwi ads. Yes, baby, says Grant. And also we have got Italy needs 50 points difference, then a draw. I'll beat the All Blacks in this game easy. Says productivity by design, although they are under a huge amount of pressure at the moment. Audrey has said thank you for the excellent commentary. Looking forward to the finals. Thank you very much, Audrey. I'm on Subaru Fantasy with 435 points. I am 12, says Amanda. Hamish back in from the storm, says Leisha. Welcome in, mate. You'll be excited, I would think, for the game this weekend. Australia versus Wales. That's going to be a big one and a determining one. If Wales can win that game, I would say that the Australians miss out. But if Australia win it, there is a chance that we see either the Fijians or the Welsh missing out. More than likely the Fijians? Maybe, if that was the case. Look at that. Hello, Hamish. I know, I read that one, didn't I? Now, collapsing close. Uruguay. Is it over the try line? Who actually has the ball there? There's about 3 different players celebrating, but I believe the one who was closest to scoring it was Manuel Ardo. Okay. Okay, the Italian player did not want to give up the ball. The thing is, that doesn't determine anything, though. In terms of the referees will look at that and still they won't get that far ahead to the point where he was hanging on to it. We have good old Beaver fishing whitebait on the Waikato 1 minute, kicking the ABs to the Rugby World Cup victory in the next. If your kickers fail, you will get nailed. Says Kennewick, and box 7-1 split. I love it, says George. Yeah, the big news of the lineups. I feel like probably the biggest news of all lineups this week, unless, of course, a side leaves out a key player. Right, they're checking the grounding here. Though, it's pretty close to the try. They've said 7's all right. That's Michelle Lamaro. It's just whether or not they've got an angle that makes it clear and evident. Okay. They've said there's no clear and compelling evidence. Oh, that was pretty close to it, though. I feel like that is down behind the bicep of the Italian player. We've got their Fiji grab 10 points in their next 2 games. They are safe, says Venster, and 8 on a Saturday night. Oh, a Sunday night will probably see me pissed, says Fleshin. I go by for Australia by 9. And we have good there. I'm glad that New Zealand isn't compulsory. Unlike Australia, I'm not ready for a 6-hour flight to Auckland, says Chronic. They're still checking for the grounding here from different angles. I think he's relatively close about there to getting that ball. To me is almost down. Okay, TMO, yeah, I think at that point, it's very close to being, I think that's down, but it's also probably not clear and conclusive, unfortunately. I sleep 24 hours a day till the box, an Irish game, the time goes faster, says Stull. Although, I feel like you also, of course, you want to be getting your recommended hours of sleep, but you want to have that build-up as well. You want to feel the intensity between the two sides. It's initially collapsed by number 1, Fischetti. Then it is collapsed again. It's going to be a penalty try, which means that the Argentina number 10 won't have to kick the kick, which is brilliant for him because he is sitting 0 from 2. And now a penalty try, 7 points. Italy down to 13, ladies and gentlemen, and this game adds another layer. And yellow and red cards should be for foul play, not offsides. Penalty is fine. Rugby, the entire game is now about red or yellow cards. In the steed of the game, imagine in soccer, a yellow card for offsides. Says Andre G. Although I guess in football it's a bit different, isn't it, in terms of what the offside means. Normally offside in football, it's because you're attacking, so your side has got the ball, you've just run a little bit too early, give yourselves that slightly unfair advantage. In rugby, it's still an unfair advantage, but through getting offside, you aren't allowing the opposition to get the meters that they normally would. So if you are close to the goal line or the try line, it can affect the play quite drastically. But I agree, you don't really want to see too many yellows for things like that. In fact, we don't even really want to see that many yellows for foul play and whatnot. It's just a shame that there is so much of it. At the moment, we know you love Argentina. Thanks so much, says Mikhail. And also we have good there, of course. It's worth a yellow because a yellow card in football. Don't take the player out of the field, says Mikhail. And joined again, and damn, it's almost halftime at Uruguay. They're going to throttle here, or going full throttle here, says Mark. Yeah, they currently sit in 7-all with a 2-man advantage at this point. Now it's kicked in behind, deep, down into the 22, Uruguay. The number 15 taking it just out from his own try line there, Amaya, and does clear it towards the touchline. Now, I should mention that at the moment, the Italians are missing 2 forwards, one of which being in the front row, so they'll be able to make the sub there, but they will still have to scrummage with 7 players. They are just showing that initial read from Echeverri and number 10 for Uruguay. They did cause all of the pressure, caused about the 15 phases that the Uruguayan side had just out from the try line. Mate wants soccer rules and rugby. Turn into football, AFL, says Chronic. And also, we have got there in the chat as well, whether and that. And Horace Drokus says Kernowick. And also we've got there in the chat after a good night at work, says Fletcher. And also the Uruguay colours from SWX. Currently, the Italians, they are on attack once more. 30 metres out from the line. Big driving tackle there on Nicotera. Counter-ruck there from Uruguay. And they've managed to steal it. I believe that was Ardo who managed to get in there and win the ball back for the underdogs. Although how much of an underdog will they be if they can score? That was a forward pass. They're right in front of Andrew Brace, who completely missed it. Now, going back across, that was close. Okay, now we see the forward pass. That was Angus Gardner that time who did spot it, rather than the touch judge. An Ireland half wounded, chasing the Springboks after his supper, says Porter. And imagine if Italy beat France, says Novmum, then it would certainly cause interest in this group, to be honest, in terms of who would make their way through, whether or not Italy can then do the same thing up against the All Blacks, or whether the All Blacks end up with a better points differential than the French, which would then mean that they would finish first. But yeah, forward pass, clear and obvious in the middle of the field. The one earlier on was also forward from Uruguay. Oh, we have got there, never, says Amanda. And come on, Uruguay, let's go, says Aroof. And I hope Uruguay keep things balanced and keep the pressure up in the second half, regardless if they lose. And come on, England, says Jacob Tuala. Now, I should mention, we've got quite a few games coming up just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, this is the sheet. Yes, it is. So, this game is currently taking place. It is 3:45 a.m. New Zealand time. Now, I will mention, due to daylight saving on, I think it is Saturday night, it means that the time does change a little bit for us here in New Zealand. So these games are actually still on the same time zone as that one, except for us here in New Zealand. So France versus Namibia, that will be the 7 a.m. game tomorrow morning. We will be also covering that one on the channel. Argentina versus Samoa, that is at 3:45 a.m. on the Saturday morning, so the same time as this game did start. Georgia versus Portugal, followed by England versus Chile, and then South Africa versus Ireland, the last of the pool, I was going to say the pool B matches for that day, which is true, but they have still got taken place only less than 24 hours later. Wales versus Australia, that will be the last game of the round. It should be a very entertaining one as well, but we are covering every single one of these games on the channel, so if you are new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. The score, says Stefan, at the moment it is sitting 7-all between these two sides, 30 minutes in, and we have also seen 2 yellow cards for the Italians, which are both currently in play. Uruguay for the upset. Morning, brother Hamish, says Flanders. Welcome in, mate. Yeah, at the moment, they're not looking too bad here for the Uruguay side. Oh, that kick has not quite gone where the guard BC wanted, but the penalty is going to be in favour of the Italians. France versus Namibia will be the first game to be over 100, unlike South Africa, their backline isn't selfish. Says Chronic, I don't know about that. Because I look at a player like Villiers, I feel like he won't pass if he thinks he's got a chance of scoring. Damien Pinot may, but he also may not. And also, if they were playing their young guy, I don't think they are though. Balbali, he has blown a lot of tries already from being selfish for his team. Nor am I arrogant. I think that Ireland will have to play immensely to beat the Box. If they do, I'll be humble and I think now. But what about later, says Kerno. And also, Italy won't win 13 players, says Mono Lagrange, and this will be a tight match. And rock this World Cup Rugby, hit that like button, please, says Aruf. Yeah, anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. We've got plenty more of this Rugby World Cup coming up. It looked like Italy were almost going to get themselves another yellow card there if they weren't too careful, because the penalty actually goes against, it was Lamaro for a late shot. And Uruguay wins, says Mr. Loom. It's going to be close, two giants up against each other, says George. And yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, whoever wins that game for now will, of course, have those bragging rights. But I'm hoping that whoever wins it doesn't feel too confident heading forward, because, it's still going to be a tough World Cup from here on out for the two teams. And I hope both of them make it far. Maybe we get to see that rematch in the final of the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, I think for now, both of those sides know that even if they win that game, there's still a lot to be done from here. I get the build-up in my dream, same as Box beat Ireland, and that will be a dream come true. If it was all planned by the Box, no game is more important than the World Cup, says Stahl. And look at the matches which happened in this World Cup at this moment of time. What is your gut feeling? Which team can win World Cup? I think, to be honest, at the moment, it's looking like one of those two sides who are playing on Sunday morning, Ireland or South Africa. Overall, cohesively, they have looked like the most all-round performers of this World Cup competition. That being said, there are still a few other sides that could do relatively well going forward. Some would argue that England haven't really put too many feet wrong. They weren't able to score themselves a bonus point in the first game, but they got the bonus point in the second, so already showing slight improvement. Is it over, says Adi? It is not. Currently a kicking battle between these two sides going back and forth. I believe that's about the 7th kick in a row being put high by Paulo Garbisi. Nice take from the Uruguayan. Number 15 running onto it. Now going off to the right-hand side again for Uruguay. Considered kicking, but instead we'll use Meres. Big contact between Nicotera and I think it was Sanguinetti at number 1. Whoever wins this game has a good chance for auto-qualifying for the next World Cup, says yes. But that is a good point. Whoever gets through here, they're asking for the penalty. It was only marginally high. I would have liked to see them just say play on at that stage, or maybe have the advantage but not have 15 players look to the referee to be given it. Now, nice run from Uruguay using their backline wide, sling and pass. They have got space on the near side of the field, but the ball has been dropped and they will go back for another penalty. And guys, as the game ends, says Adi, it is not. It's still 7-all between these two sides. And 8 this Saturday night. Also probably see me pissed. Says Fleshin, and all due respect to Fiji, but their line-out nearly cost them the game against one of the worst Aussie teams ever. Says Porter. And yeah, there'll still be things that every side in this World Cup can improve on. I feel like that is the beauty of the World Cup. If you go into it thinking you're going to dominate, normally that is a side that get knocked out in an important fixture. So you got to make sure that even if there are gaps in your game, you are slowly improving. Like Fiji, they'll look at their lineouts, go, right, do we need to start Tavita Ikanaveri rather than having Sam Matavesi as the starting lineout? Although I think a lot of credit as well does need to go to the Australians for putting that pressure on with Richie Arnold, as well as having Matt Phillip off the bench, Nick Frost in the starting lineup as well. He's actually got one of the most steals in Super Rugby Pacific throughout last year. So yeah, there are little factors for them, but I think that Ikanaveri will start the next match up against the Georgians, more than likely. Like they've said, it wasn't dangerous. It was almost not even high, to be honest. It was just a little grab on the shoulder. They do get themselves the penalty. Uruguay is doing well here, says Stahl. They certainly are, and now they are 10 metres out from the Italian line. Germain Kessler, the line-out throw. Italy still with 13 men on the field. Italy are really playing top rugby, says Mark Wainwright. Thrown into the bag. Nicely taken by Los Teros. It is sacked legally, they say. 10 metres out from the line now. Arzo goes around the side of the breakdown. The Italian did take some contact on his head. Looking straight to the referee who says no, keep playing. 5 metres out from the line now, going to the left-hand side. 3 metres now between Uruguay and their second try of the game, although it might be their first try scored by a player rather than the penalty try. Nicotera over the ball, doesn't quite get the turnover as it does pop out the back for Uruguay once more. 5 minutes remaining in the half, so plenty of time to build phase after phase after phase, and Uruguay now going to the short side. They have got numbers if they can shift it wide. Italy now defending well and having one more man committed. Big thing here for the Italians is not to panic and not to get yourself offside, because they have already received a yellow card for a similar infringement. Another pick and drive from Uruguay. Ball still available, up to 9 or so phases now. Getting close to the try line, slightly held up, finds the offload away to Arto. He's turned onto his back, just short of the line. They do have to release it. I see that a player is missing his boot at the moment. I think it was Arto. He was that quick getting to the breakdown that his shoe flew off. Now having a ducky. It was almost in the way, but it's the try for Uruguay out of the way. Nicolas Freitas has scored the try for Los Teros right at the end of this first half, making the most of the man advantage, or the two-man advantage. And now 12 points to 7. I have a feeling this game may have some handbags soon, says Eric. And Uruguay and Portugal will be a good game. We need a friendly before the year ends. What do you think? I'd love to see those two sides go head-to-head, and I feel like it would help both sides work out exactly where they are sitting in terms of the rugby world. But Los Teros, the quick hands, sweeping around the short side, passing over the top of Ardo, who was trying to put his boot back on, and Nicolas Freitas scores the try for Uruguay. Yes, great commentary, says Jeremy Rogers. Thank you very much. And Vamos, says Mikhail there. And also, we're going to come on Uruguay. Boom, hit those Italians, go, says Ruth. I click draw. Well, this is going to be, or just got interesting, says Cool Story Bro. Yeah, there's potential of this game being extremely close between these two sides. In fact, what we're going to do is I'm going to have a very quick look and see what the odds are sitting at for this game. I know that, wow, Uruguay are $2.35, in fact, $2.15 underdogs compared to Italy, who are $1.72. Now, at the start of this game, Uruguay was $7 underdogs, so that just shows how close and how tightly, I guess, split now these two sides are. Brilliant kick from the touchline from Echeverri. Does the banana kick to get it to curve back the way he needed it to. And now 14 points to 7 in favour of the Uruguayans here. And they have been bringing that intensity throughout the first 40 minutes. The big question is whether or not it's going to be like last week's game up against France, how they do slow down when they do get that a little bit closer to full time. Can the Aussies upset Portugal? Says George there. Wait, can the Aussies upset Portugal, or can Portugal upset the Aussies? Says George, because I feel like Portugal will come in as underdogs into that matchup, but it is kicked off short by Tommaso Allen. You start to wonder, did the Italians make a mistake by changing so many of their players in that back line with the reshuffle? Tommaso Allen, he went from playing 15 to playing 10. We've seen Capuzzo, he went from playing 14 to 15. Garbisi, he's moved into the midfield. If the Italians underestimated Uruguay for this game, we've hardly seen Monty Ioane touch the ball, though. That is one thing that we have picked up on already. No, I mean Aussie. Says Georgian, good conversion. Uruguay could have been 20 points up, says Robinson. And what a kick, says Venster. And then Uruguay is doing very well, says Stahl. They certainly are, although Italy now with 15 men on the field looking to fire straight back into this contest. Sitting on the halfway line, Tommaso Allen out to Monty Ioane, who is a long way off his wing, but I mentioned he just hasn't really had that ball enough, so now does go searching for it. Short ball. Looks like it's loose as well. Uruguay very close to getting the turnover. Now it will be the knock-on. Uruguay with the advantage. Sling and pass wide. And they'll go back now for the scrum, as it did travel forward. Of course, the Aussies can upset the mighty Portuguese, says Chris. They should have learnt from the French game. Can't field a weak B team against Uruguay, says Robinson. Yeah, because the thing is, this wouldn't even be considered, I don't think anyway, as an Italian B team. But the fact that they've made so many switches in that back line, in terms of positionally, like that completely changes your tactics. Do you think Italy will win, says Ashley? I think that at the moment, they will struggle because I don't think we're seeing enough in this first half that has shown us that they will walk away with a lot of tries in this game. Now, that's not saying they won't be able to score, let's say, 4 or 5 tries in the second half if Uruguay start to slow down and get themselves a bit more of a comfortable win. But at the moment, the only thing that is really going in the Italians' favour is scrum time. They've been dominant in that department. It is going to be a scrum now for Uruguay, and it will be their feed. So I'm curious to see how big this push from the Italians can be. Unfortunately, they've gone down in the front row early. I bet money on Italy a lot. So yeah, they better win, says Ashley. What were the odds when you backed them, Ashley, out of curiosity? Because I know that at the start of this game, they were about $1.08 or somewhere around there. So New Zealand are going to have to take their Uruguay game serious? I believe so. Or else it could end up hurting them. Good afternoon, morning. Rugby fan, says Timothy. Also, we have got there. Where's the suit and tie, brother, says Eta. So for this game, seeing as it's just a one game, rather than a few back-to-back-to-back, we decided we'd just wear the hoodie for it rather than getting the suit on. But I mentioned about that cowboy hat at the end of the last live stream, and I did go and find it because people were quite upset that I couldn't deliver on that statement. And Ashley Lowell says, Stalba, now Uruguay, we are just after what would have been half-time, but they've decided to keep on playing for just that little bit longer. Step in nicely. Rata. Drop kick. Attempted by Uruguay. Oh, has it gone over? They're not sure. They will have to check this one just to make sure it was flat. That is for sure. Right. Echeverri thinks that he's got it. It looks like it's gone over. Just couldn't tell. And to be fair, good work here from the referee, Angus Gardner, because he easily could have gone, we're not sure whether that's gone over or not. I think it has, so I'll award it. Instead, he went upstairs. They are just going to check this. It shouldn't take too long to work out whether or not it has gone over the post or under. The accuracy was there. It's just that question mark. Yep, it is over. So the 3 points extra for Uruguay. They will go into halftime 17 points to 7 ahead. And what has been a fantastic showing from Los Teros throughout the first 40 minutes. Fiji made the mistake of making too many changes against Uruguay in the last World Cup and lost. Uruguay have been a competitive team these past 4 years, says Robinson. And also, hi Amish, thanks for the commentary. I'm supporting Uruguay. I would like to see you doing some live juggling during halftime of one of these matches. Cheers from Dublin, says Brian. Yeah, I had to find some balls, won't I? Well, more balls. Golf balls are the only balls I can think of that I've got that might work, but then the problem is they are quite hard. So if I don't manage to catch them, they might break something. Oh, yeah, I've got there, it's pronounced ring. Double R is hard, says Mikel. So I'll just look through at one of the names that has the double R. Where is a double R name? I don't think so Los Tiros, is that the... Oh, Echeverri, sorry. So it's Echeverring. Would that be how you say it? Eat your heart out, George Ford. Says Bill there. The odds were 60% Italy, 40% Uruguay. Says Ashley. Okay, so that's not too bad in that regard because they were a lot lower in the betting odds at the start of the game. So if you backed them right at the start, you'd be very nervous about now. But it just shows how some of the lower ranked sides have got some pretty big potential in these games. And grande los tiros, vamos Uruguay, saludos desde Santiago de Chile, says Jorge. It looks like Uruguay have got this one, says Lindsay. Yeah, at the moment they are sitting very nicely. That 10-point lead going into the second half. They are currently sitting still as slight underdogs. The Italians, though, they're going to need something big for them if they do want to walk away from this game with the points available. A bonus point is still doable, though, I should mention, for both of these teams. 2 more tries for Uruguay and a win would give them 5 points. 3 more tries for the Italians and a win would give them 5 points. Yeah, I placed my bet yesterday, so you're not too smart, says Ashley there. And also Portugal would definitely give the Aussies a run for their money, but won't beat the Aussies, says JC. And Vania, Uruguay, the little country that could, says Gonzalo. Did you see the article about sweaty balls being a problem at the Rugby World Cup? I think it can be taken either way, says Novman. I know that the balls have been talked about a lot throughout this competition Because did they go with some sort of new technology in the ball? Something like a ball tracking thing similar to what they have for the under-20s Rugby World Cup. We have good there, we'll send on the BIM squad, but we're the BIM squad. Ireland, a fair no bomb squad because Ireland know a lot about bombs and how to defuse them. Bit of arrogance there. Says Kernowick. Well, that's the thing. For South Africa, if it works, it'll be very dangerous. If they end up with 1 or 2 early injuries in their backline, all of a sudden that will change tactics completely. And I believe Ireland will look to be extremely physical early on in the contest to try and assert a little bit of dominance on the backline, which will then, it'll be interesting. I'm excited for it. But then there's also that chance that later in the game with the South Africans having that extra forward that they will end up just powering in that last 20 or so minutes. Good your Spanish, Kiwi lad? I know a little tiny bit of Spanish. Not a huge amount, but I will ask all of our Uruguayan viewers, hola, ¿cómo você está? Although I don't know what the answers are to that, to be fair. When you say diffuse, I put them in a pram, doesn't count. Says Gareth, and also rumor has it first games was a film coding, dealt with heat and sweat. Says it was there from Peter Wild, and Uruguay could be South America's best. Watch out Argentina, says George. And I hope it's over. Yeah, come on Uruguay, says Francois. And Uruguay in front. And we just caught the last 10 minutes of the first half. Love an underdog unless it's Ireland. Italy on the hazard, says Yvonne. And also, vamos los tiros. Fuerza Uruguay, says Monica. Yeah, the celebrations will certainly be running wild for the Uruguayans if they can walk away from this game with the full 5 points available. And like I mentioned, you cannot underestimate what this Uruguay side can do. And Etzebeth was a winger at school, says Johannes. So what you're saying is if there are injuries, I guess they have got the 2 locks off the bench, don't they? So you think Etzebeth's going to make his way out to the wing. How does Pollard contribute to the Ireland game? He is not in their side. And it's going to be a big decision to make for the Springboks. I actually mentioned about it with how late it is that he's going to be returning into the side. I assume that they will be starting him at 10 up against Tonga, because if they don't, I don't think they can afford to start him in any other game that has taken place in those quarterfinals, mainly because, it's a risk. With him playing so little rugby, it could actually be a Bok downfall. And it feels weird to say that because of how good Honore Pollard has been, because of all the points that he has been able to get for himself over the last little while. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they're willing to take that chance of playing him at either 10 or 12. I think that they may even look at him as a 12 option in the game up against the Tongans. Recap first half, collapse in scrums, yellow for Italy, shaky kicking, All Blacks not scared with that Italian performance, says Donovan. And then, so glad I found your channel. My mum told me about it all the way from South Africa, a South American here, supporting Uruguay all the way. Muchas gracias, says La Chica. And thank you very much for tuning in. And also thank you very much to your mum for letting you know about the channel. It is pretty awesome that she did shout us out. And we have got a donation from Yvonne as well, a £20 super sticker. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Hugely appreciated. Game getting, or any good so far, Justin, says Dennis. I think so. I feel like any game we've seen Uruguay play at the moment, they bring that intensity, they bring that excitement to the game. Uruguay made second try, says for you. They did indeed, and it was out wide. Try scored by Nicholas Freitas out on the wing, and thanks for your hard work. Looking forward to your comms on Saturday for Ireland versus South Africa, says Yvonne there. And RG Sneyman covers inside centre, says I was here. Yeah, he's got plenty of offloading options in his arsenal as well. I'm so glad I put Echeverri in my fantasy team, says Anelli. Vamos Uruguay, says Ben. And Argentina does not have to worry about Uruguay because Uruguay is very weak. Don't know about that. I feel like at the moment lately we've seen Uruguay show that up against some big sides they are able to have a big impact. Argentina in this World Cup is currently sitting 0 from 1 in terms of the winning department. Same can be said about Uruguay. The big question mark I think for Argentina is how they do up against the Samoans. Do you think they can do it? Play well so far, says Sportsman. They've been looking very good, Uruguay. It's just that question mark of whether or not fitness at the end of this game will play a factor in those final moments. If we fail, we're screwed. The Irish will bring it. I'm nervous for the Bok, says Francois. A few South Africans here love it, says Dale. I believe we've got a lot more South Africans on this stream at the moment than New Zealanders, mainly because of the time zones, although someone who I've just seen pop into the chat, who we haven't seen in a little while, of course, in Australia, trucking down under. Welcome in, mate. Hope you are absolutely awesome And it's great to have you here. Have you been keeping an eye on this World Cup so far is the big question. And if so, if you're supporting the Wallabies, what have you thought of their prior performances? Fully agree, Hamish. If they start Pollard against Tonga, then impossible against France. The All Blacks, says George. And Pollard definitely will play 12, Money Libok at 10, says Morne Lagrange. And I want the JC Pretorius, played for South Africa. He's a really great young footy player. He played sevens. He's also making the transition, reminds me of Rico, says Chronic. And yeah, I've watched a lot of JC Pretorius throughout the Blitz box last little while, and he does look like a promising player that could transition quite well. South Africa all the way, says Skylar. And also bet loads of Irish knocking about on here, says Dennis. We've also had a few Irish supporters popping in and out throughout this live stream just because of the time zone. It's a lot more convenient for you guys watching the World Cup in the Northern Hemisphere or South Africa than it is for us down in the Oceania region. I bet loads. I know I read that one. I think we should give Oxen a share run at fly half, and Argentina will beat Samoa. And yeah, I think at this stage it's a must-win for Argentina, or else they may end up actually missing out on making it out of the group stage. Do you think the Springboks have any change or any chance to win the World Cup? I think it's a relatively high chance at the moment with the way that they have been playing. Francois White, do not stress, South Africa is better. Me, but I don't live there anymore, says Yvonne. Can't wait for Saturday for South Africa to thrash Ireland. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I actually hope it's a close game. To be honest, I don't know whether or not that is because of my impartialness, but I really want to see an extremely close game. In fact, I said it earlier on, and I don't know whether or not South Africans and Irish supporters will agree. In fact, I can tell you they won't. I would love to see a draw in that game, because if that's a draw, then if those two sides meet, actually that's my disclaimer. If it's a draw, those two sides have to meet in the World Cup final. And imagine the scenes if that was the case. Ireland in their first ever World Cup final, ranked at number 1 in the world going into it. South Africa, the defending champs, they've been there, done that. That would just be an awesome one. South Africa has blocked us on Rugby Pass, so we supporting the commentary, says Mark. And South Africa all the way, says Die. And watch out, you get struck down mentioning that name, says Fleshin. And I'm a South African, but was raised as an American. As a joke. Says cool story, bro. I like the scenario, says Bob Jorts. And yeah, as well, but we aren't too far away from the second half starting, ladies and gentlemen. 42 points for the South Africans, 12 to Ireland. Says Johannes, that is quite one-sided, isn't it? In that regard. Yes, I agree with the draw, but sorry for all my fellow South African fans, but my tourney favourite is France. Ireland final, says Ashley. Also, you're going with an All Six Nations final between the two teams. And also, mate, Bock is going to walk all over the island, says Skylar. And I want the Irish supporters to be unbilled so badly, says Anneli. Well, that's the thing. I've talked about it on this stream as well, and past ones. That rivalry at the moment between Ireland and South Africa, both fan bases are just slapping into each other at the moment. Like, no one wants to take that backward step. The game result, I feel, won't even affect in terms of how much both sides want their team to still go on and win the World Cup, and still they will feel confident that they will be able to do so. But it's certainly going to be interesting. It's going to be the bragging rights before getting further in the comp. And Box by 10 says, I was here. Can't wait to see the comments on the game. The South Africa, says Robert, and a lot of small teams actually do play well. Romania were awesome against the Bok. I was impressed by their scrum and forwards. Says Francois, and where's Franz Stein? He's looking good. Or he is good looking, says Ruth there. And beat Ireland on Saturday, then again on the final, says George. Ireland won't handle the stress of a final in the Rugby World Cup, says Stalin. South Africa 35, Ireland 17. South Africa fans, careful the Irish stuff, so don't write them off, says Ashley. Hamish, do you eat your veggies? I do indeed. Even though I've eaten a little bit more sugar than I normally would, and my face probably tells you that, because as soon as I eat like 1 teaspoon of sugar, not literally by itself, but I had some juice, I also had an ice cream, and now my face is like, haha, have some pimples, gee. Greetings from England. I don't expect England to get past the quarterfinals. Cheers for South Africa, or cheering on the South Africans to win it, says Simon. And Boxers the champ, 28-22, says Skylar. And hi, I'm coming back, says Master. Are you going to be talking to us about cricket today, Master? Out of curiosity. I actually had cricket training today, So if there was ever a time that would be slightly more allowed, it would be possibly now, I guess. But luckily, I didn't get hit with the ball too badly. Cool story, bro. Is a wimp low of the live streams, says Grant. You would have a lot of help, says Flesh, in my first semi-final, Ireland versus New Zealand, and then South Africa versus England. Can Ireland face New Zealand in the semi-final, Eddie? I think that can't work. I know that South Africa, England, I believe that one can, but I think the other side has to be one of the teams in Pool C or D. In that case, you'd have either Ireland, Wales, Australia, Argentina, England, Fiji, someone along those lines. South Africa still looks solid to be in the World Cup final, so they are not fair for nothing, says Oloni, and we still bleed gold, says Oloni there. And also, what do? Do you battle bowl? I am a left arm leg spinner, so I'm a right arm leg spinner, but I'm probably going to be batting near the top of the order this season, more than likely. And South Africa has this World Cup in the bag, says the Daily Vlog. And South Africa versus England in the final, says Stefan. And a draw, rather interesting. We have to pass either the ABs or France. If I'm correct, says Francois. And Ireland can only face the All Blacks in the final if it plays out that way, says George. That is, of course, unless France end up losing some sort of massive upset in a game up against either Namibia or Italy. Same can be said about New Zealand. And if New Zealand end up missing out, perhaps, if the Italians can come back here, we could see a bit of a reshuffle in Pool A. Winner A versus winner C, etc., says Peter Wild. And Ireland versus France on October 28th. Says Marks, could an Australia versus South Africa final happen? Theoretically, I believe it could. If I'm not wrong, I think it still could, but it would be very tricky, of course, to get there left and right. Deadly combo in bowling, says Ashley. And also we have got the Ireland still have to play Scotland. Scotland can just turn up on the day, says Francois. Sorry to say this, but it won't be a draw, says Mono Lagrange. Yeah, I think in this game we're certainly going to have a winner. The big question is whether or not the Italians can get themselves back into this contest. They are playing a bit of Queen, We Will Rock You around the stadium. Second half just about to start up again. South Africa leave out Villy and Dwayne. Can any other team do it? Says Johannes. And also I still worry about Australia, says Johannes. And Vamos Uruguay, while other teams leave them out every game. Says Gareth. You said what I was thinking, Gareth, but I didn't say nothing for that one. And I agree, Villy LaRue is not playing against the Irish, thank goodness, or thanks goodness, says Francois. It almost sounds almost Dutch. Goosness, doesn't it? Amish still owes us a video of him bowling, says Grant. I hope you guys forgot about that. Now it's going to be kicked up high. Instead of 40 metres out from the line, nicely taken by Capuzio at the back. Scotland versus Ireland to me is more exciting, says Chronic Underachiever. Tackle made by Ardo. Man who was putting on his boot when the Uruguayans scored their second try of the match. Now it will be Tommaso Allen kicking in behind. Uruguay back there though to be able to cover it as the young fullback, Amaya. And also good lad damage to chicken you energized, says Francois. I kicked him behind. Uruguay trying to take the diving catch like he was playing as a football goalkeeper there in Ciate. And this year, cricket and rugby, both World Cup winners will be South Africa. Love from Nigeria, says Master. And also, I agree, as a long life Irish supporters, but I live in hope, lose hope, and you are gone, my friend. Come on, Ireland, says Kerno Wick. And Villy played well against Romania, says George. And Scotland is a team they want to go through. So let's hope they win Ireland, but I don't think so. That's quick hands. Going to Sebastian Negri. Man who just spent 10 minutes off the field a little bit earlier on in the contest. In fact, was it him? No, it was actually, sorry, my apologies, Lorenzo Cannoni. Did end up spending time off the field. Now 45 metres out from the line. Italy still in possession, so they have had the ball for all of this first half. Combat sugar with a green smoothie. Green apple, cucumber, spinach, celery and kale with a bit of cinnamon, turmeric and ginger. It's nutrient dense. I'll outbalance your nutrients, says William there. Yeah, I still have a few other vegetables along the way. It's just sadly when I have an ice cream, it just goes wrong. Now that's going to be the penalty in favour of the Italians. Player leaving feet. And right arm medium fast, says Francois. Our team's actually low on players. If you guys are in New Zealand, come on down, have a play. Having a left arm leg spinner would actually be very handy because we don't have any left arm bowlers at all. We might find Scotland harder to beat than them lads from South Africa. Scots on the day can beat anyone, says Dennis. We have got there Uruguay. It's not weak, come on, says Monica. And also we have got there not the cricket. We can face spin. So yeah, we are in trouble, but India have a big chance in Australia. But don't forget about Pakistan. It sounds like we are going upstairs now. Yep, there is a check. The actions are gold 12. Now that is going to be Andreas Valeseca. He might be in trouble here because with the fact that they've gone upstairs to check this, I would assume, it's really soft, but they're probably going to give it as a penalty, which there already was a penalty. It's caught him on the chin. Please tell me this isn't a yellow card, but they might give it as one. It's glancing, initial contact to the head. Is it direct contact, Tom? Yes or no? He makes direct contact with the cheekbone, then slides off onto the body. He's upright, he's at fault. They've got head contact. He's upright. It meets the yellow card threshold. It's a bit of a shame for Uruguay. He said, I'm going for the ball. He doesn't want the yellow card, but he's going to be given one. Here comes a card. And nothing wrong with that tackle, says John. To be honest, I think we can all agree, softest yellow card of this Rugby World Cup so far. If it gets upgraded to a red, that would be ridiculous. But it's going to still be the penalty to Italy from 40 metres out. The only vegetables you need to eat is chicken and seafood, says Grant. These cards are ruining the Rugby World Cup, says David. And spell a mistake, I'm just happy Villy is not playing pretty soft, says Bill Whitingham. I think I've said that correctly. Yeah, it's, to be honest, like the lightest yellow we've had. In terms of contact, anyway. I watched a video on the hit job on Richie McCaw, where he is different in this decade, says David, and definitely harsh, says George. And there, but now the rolling mob for the Italians with a man advantage. Can this be what they needed to get back into the contest? Nicotera driving at the line. He's over, but he's on his back. So I don't think, though he's rolled. So he may have just got it down. Ridiculous, says Reflecting Trees. Yep. A very silly yellow, no more than a penalty for that, says Robinson. Yeah. And I feel like it's the perfect example of why the rules now, I still feel like they haven't quite got the laws correct, because in that case, like, it's just common sense that he didn't really hit him hard. Direct contact with the head we saw earlier on, that was just given as a penalty. So, yeah, it's interesting. Looked like it was a slight tackle behind his ear. Says Fleshin and come on Uruguay. And these cards are ridiculous, says Richard. And as a Spanish, the response to como estás, you can reply, estoy bien, gracias. Okay, I will try my best to remember that. But yeah, I always know how to say hola como você está, but I don't know how to reply if someone asks it back. So, estoy bien, gracias. I will try my best to remember that. Rugby changes the rules so much. How can we play a game without any kind of head contact? It was only a slight glance to the head, says Robinson. Yeah. Currently, we're just watching the TMO decision for Nicotera. They got another angle. I think they're going to say held up. It's going to be the goal line dropout. They didn't have any other angles, which is weird because from last half we saw the angles from behind. Interesting. Uruguay is leading Italy. They are indeed leading by 10 points at the moment. Every kind of sport has a problem with bad refereeing at the moment, says Chronic Underachiever. And well, Uruguay is a big surprise, says Stull. Okay, the yellow card will remain as a yellow card. That is at least one good thing here. Because if that got upgraded to a red, that would have been absolutely insane. This, Cricket World Cup winner is South Africa, yep. I think it will be more of a joke if it's upgraded to a red, and hold on, Uruguay. That's got good defence. Get his arm under that. An upset of the World Cup so far if they win, says David Vickers. It certainly would be. It would actually top the Fiji versus Australia game in terms of the betting odds. Move your head. If Ali jabbed at me, I'll move mine and still get sparked, says Kerno Wick. Well, the problem that we'll have in terms of head contact in rugby is players will start to lead with their head more when they're attacking, because if anyone makes contact with it, they're going to get themselves a penalty and they're going to end up with the other team getting a yellow card. And I hope it doesn't get to that extent, but there's a chance that it could, depending on how easily they are giving cards. It's going to be Uruguay with the ball in hand now, managing to get themselves the turnover and the breakdown. Looks like some sort of injury now again for an Uruguay player. Oh, nicely controlled there by Garbisi in the midfield. Slings it across here to Canoni with a straining run. Tries to get rid of Eshafiri, but he's been able to stop him again. Big run for from Nicotera betting odds. I got Fiji at $7. Says Peter Wild. So for this game, I believe the Uruguayans came in at $7 and $8 throughout the game. I believe after their good start, they went down to $7, but yeah, they were about $8. But you probably got them for decent odds overall, Peter. Because for us here in New Zealand, Fiji were only $3.50 underdogs, so they felt that there was a lot more chance that the Fijians would win that game than Uruguay to win this one. Just arrived no way, that's a yellow. Italian dipped his head into the shoulder, not even a penalty in my opinion, says Brian. Lamaro, the captain, slides over the try line, and Italy will get themselves back into the contest now. Vamos Uruguay, says John. The only comeback Italy can maybe perform, and Italy tries, says Master, and Italy will win this easy, says Dennis. And they have got the man advantage for the next little while. They'll be trying to make the absolute most of it, and it is the captain, Michel Lamaro, who does get the try for the Italians. Their first of the second half. Another 2 tries would actually give them the bonus point, whether they win, lose, or draw here. It's not been very easy this far, says Bill. Yeah, it's been pretty contested between these two sides. As a flag or a red flashing to your right of your head at the top of the stadium. Is it this thingy? That would be my right, wouldn't it? I think that's actually in my background. It's actually a light behind. You can see another one behind my head here. That's pretty much my light through the green screen. Fun fact. But yeah, it does actually, it looks like there's a star or something out to that side, doesn't it? I mentioned that there was no rain about 30 minutes before this game. So we should see running rugby throughout the rest of the 33 metres. Floodgates opening, says George. We have got there Mikel Lamaro, says Gus there. And also we have got their fight between 2 weak teams, says Master. I wouldn't call them weak though. I feel like, to be honest, sometimes the games taking place between the sides that are slightly lower in the rankings are more entertaining than the top sides. Because both sides show that little bit more heart and they aren't complacent. They know that they have to do absolutely everything out there on the field to be able to walk away with a victory. Which is why when you look at that game between Fiji and Australia, a lot of people prefer watching that than the big matches that have taken place throughout this Rugby World Cup. Vamos los Teros, says Monica. And Grant, what about a card game? Gin Rummy, says Ruth. That one has been put into touch though by the Italians trying to play a bit of the territory game. Did Uruguay score good tries, says Anoy. So one of their tries was a penalty try. The other try was a nice bit of work just out from the goal line. And then firing it out wide to Nicolas Freitas. And Vamos los Teros, says Monica there. This was talk of France throwing their match with Italy. Or there was talk of throwing their match with Italy to eliminate the EBs. But if Uruguay win, they can't. And Brian Lawrence making a comeback for the South Africa versus Ireland game, says John. Line out thrown in nicely by Uruguay, by Kessler. Still another 4.5 minutes remaining of the Villaseca yellow card. Los Teros still trying to use this ball. Slowly but surely marching up the field. Now do have to use it. It will be Santiago Arata. Looks like he will be going for the box kick. In this case, and Keith says a rooster. Into the 22, the mark is taken by Italy. We'll boot it back down towards the Uruguayan 22-metre line. Ishiveri puts it high. I'll line up this kick on the halfway line. It is knocked on by the Italians. Flicking pass. Trying to use their back line. I believe that was once again the prop who's been doing the little offloading. And they will go back for the original knock-on advantage Any idea where the next World Cup is going to be, says Dennis? By the sounds of it, it's going to be in Australia for the next World Cup. And then 2031, I believe they're looking at USA as the next option. Come on, Italia, my Super Brew, says Morne Van Dijk. Looks like quite a few changes being made now for the Italians. And hi, says BTS. Welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing very well. Anyone who is new to the channel, I should mention, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We have got plenty more Rugby World Cup action coming just around the corner. The next game that we are covering, it is France versus Namibia. That will be tomorrow morning New Zealand time in about 26 hours time from now. Riccioni, a man who has made his way off the field, that is going to be for Cesarelli. Also, I think Zani is on the field, and also Dino Lamb. And we have got there, guys, what's happening here? Guru, am I at the correct place? Eyes locked, says Marius, I should say. Yeah, at the moment, score is sitting with Uruguay with that little bit of an advantage. 30 minutes remaining. And this contest looks like just adjusting the shoelaces now, Villaseca, before he makes his way back out onto the field. It's going to be a lot of tension throughout the last 20 minutes. Also, scrum caps are only considered for abrasions, not for head bumps nor concussions. Personally, I recommend them for more than abrasions, says Mark there. And also, Das, one of my friends from India, his title also Das, says Master. Grande Los Pumas, says Leo. Now scrum feed. Uruguay with the ball in their hands. Last 30 minutes, I mentioned about how if Uruguay can stick in it for that last 20-minute patch or so, they have a decent chance of winning. But if they do start to tire, that is when the Italians will find their momentum. And perhaps with those subs that the Italians have made, this is when they try and up that tempo that little bit more. But currently, Uruguay in possession, going to the short side. Just inside of the Italian territory at the moment. Ardo again runs hard at the line. Arata going off to Echeverri, charged down by the Italians. Ball's knocked back. Garbisi kicks it forward. There's still the advantage for the Italians. Echeverri, it was a lot of hard work to be able to get the ball, but 10 metres out from their line now. It is going to be Uruguay with the ball in hand. We have got that turn your camera so we can also watch AMC style. That would get me kicked off YouTube straight away. Unfortunately, best World Cup game ever, says Denzel. How important was that drop kick from Uruguay? It could be the difference maker in this contest. We have already seen Uruguay missing 2 kicks throughout the match, 6 points worth. Those could also play factor in the result. Montiuani driving his legs for the Italians, 35 metres out from the line. Salad a dummy from Sebastian Negri. Then 25 metres out from the line. Now Garbisi. Across to the right-hand side. Nicotera now having his carry. Juan Inacio breaks. Offloaded backwards. Thought about the pass to Maso Allen, but hangs on to it. Doesn't want to go for anything risky here, just in case Uruguay can get themselves that turnover. Another run there from, I believe it would have been Lorenzo Pani. He was actually the first try scorer in this game. Villaseca still off the field for another 1 minute. No advantage coming yet for the Italians. Juan Inacio breaks. Now short ball to Ioane, and he scores the try for the Italians, and they will now take the lead. That is their 3rd try in the fixture. Interesting on the scrum caps. Says Francois, scrum caps protect against elbows and sharp pointy bits digging into your noggin. I think they had too much pizza before the match, says Denzel, although they're burning it off now with some fantastic runs. And yes, the advantage was over for the Italians, but they made the most of it. When the referee always checks sprigs and fingernails before kickoff, says Peter Wild, and also no, says Nelly, I want Uruguay to win and come on to Uruguay. Says Wise Ones, Italy and Rebels. Says Annoy there, but yeah, Monty Ioane, the try scorer, does do quite a bit for the Melbourne Rebels throughout Super Rugby Pacific. And for me, I would expect on the AB's resurgence, try off the AB's as dull. If they fire, they will be the winners of this World Cup. But Foz must stick to the set team of his best men. No chopping around, says Kerno Weck. But the kick is successful. Now the score 21 points to 17 in favour of the Italians. And hurry up with the kick, says Hanoi. I believe now they will be on 15 versus 15. Yep, by the looks of it, he does make his way back out onto the field as the referee announcement being made for the Boxers Island game. I believe it is Ben O'Keefe who will be in charge of that one. Italy are getting back into their stride now, and Italy looking better now. These changes will mean Ioane and Capuzio will get better balls, says Robinson. And bookmakers are going crazy now. Yeah, that's the thing. With the fact that the Italians are back in the lead, I assume Uruguay are $10 underdogs now, ladies and gentlemen. $10 underdogs. That is quite a difference from what they were. That is for sure. Now, vamos Uruguay. Currently the Italians, they're building some quite nice momentum. $15 underdogs for the Uruguayans. Breaking the line though for Italy, so you can understand why their odds are increasing just that little bit more. As the Italians smell blood and they're looking to break through. Nice run from Lamaro, one of the last try scorers for the Italians. Should mention Ioane also has crossed the try line. Quick hands there. Ioane went for the risky offload and Uruguay get the ball back. QM has said, come on. Like every team except the Boxing Island have a bad bench. Or it's like every side, apart from them have a bad. Can see the money in my bank account, says Ashley. Ioane. And a breakthrough. A good defence from Uruguay once more. And they are playing with 14 men, not because of the yellow card, but because of an injury in back play. I believe that it is Santiago Arata who has stayed down. Looks like some sort of neck injury. Now Italy passing on the outside. I think it was Canoni charging forward. Now short ball from Garbisi. Off to Fischetti. 5 metres from the line. Slammed down to the turf. Italy short side have got the numbers. Short ball. And he's... I think Canoni's got that. He looked like he almost threw the ball at the line. And I can't wait for the biggest game of the World Cup. South Africa versus Ireland, says on the fly. And again, Try says Master. Yeah, now they are running rampage here. The Italians. And the big difference, I think, is going to be stamina throughout this contest, because Uruguay, they are going to tie as this match wears on, and they've lost all momentum, and the Italians making the absolute most of it. But Canoni gets himself... I think he's dropped that. I think they need to have another look at that very quickly to make sure that he did put the ball down. He's dropped it. No try. No try whatsoever. I mentioned it at the time. They're claiming it. The crowd are booing. They need to look at this. He did not get that ball down. Only coming if it's clear, please. It is clear. He dropped that ball. There's clear There was a... Did he drop that, or is that just me? I swear he dropped that by about that much. And it went down on the ground, and they haven't looked back upstairs. They're about to line up this kick. Am I seeing things, or did he drop that ball clearly, ladies and gentlemen? And now Italy about to line up this kick. It's going to be 2 points. Did they not drop that ball? Here's the replay. Didn't have control of it. Dropped it over the try line. No one is mentioning it. Even the commentators. Am I drunk? How? No one has mentioned it. No commentators, no referee. And now the Uruguayans. Okay. Fair enough. Also, that's no try, you're right, mate, says Dennis. A glitch in the Matrix average. It's definitely confused me. We have got the ads, Rob the Amigo, says Sebastian. So I'm not the only one, ladies and gentlemen, who saw that ball dropped, am I? We saw the separation, and I don't know why they haven't looked at it again. Biased against Uruguay, and how much time is left in the game, says Marius. There is still another 23 minutes remaining. He did drop the ball, says John. I think his forehand might have still been on it, says Brian, although normally they do consider that as not a clear grounding, don't they, when there's separation? I would have thought that they'd at least look upstairs to check it if there was the case of him not slamming it down with his hands, that's clearly a knock-on. And also, we have got, I saw that too. Amy says, Spider, hi from South Africa. Says, Kurt Irish, the river's blowing for me with all my money on the line. And also, we have got the go and replace these commentators' Irish right now, says Mikhail. And good game, says Ismail, and that's clearly a knock-on, says Monet Lagrange. They still haven't mentioned it. They're saying now that's what the Italian side are capable of when they are on attack. Which, to be fair, it was a decent bit of play, but just ground the ball next time. 15-point win for the Box. Says Denzel, the commentator, is up here, had another look and said nothing. That's what I heard. They were in complete silence. They didn't even praise him for the try, which they normally would. It's as if they were like, do we say something? And then someone said, no, don't say it. They definitely should have checked it, says Brian. Bunker can't make a call unless they are asked, I assume, says David Vickers. I mean, I don't know, because I feel like in the past, like, games of the World Cup, we've had that scenario of randomly the TMO will step in and be like, hey, look at this little thing. So I would assume that that would be the same. Thought it's a bit ambiguous. Says Brian, glitch in the matrix. Uruguay should challenge, and that's maybe why they should have a captain's challenge in rugby. The ref having a blinder, and in terms of not being able to see what's happened, I assume. And don't know because I'm listening to you, says Andre. Well, as you guys know, I'm normally completely down the middle. So if I see something that I feel doesn't look right, I'll let you know. Some people will be like, oh, you're just supporting one team, you want it to be no try. But no, if there's something like that that happens, I'll let you guys know what I think. I've admitted in the past that I've been wrong in certain situations, and I wear that on the chin. But in that case, I believe that should have been no try against the Italians. And now kicked him behind, cover him behind for the Uruguayans, forced into touch. Can you imagine this being the winning score on Saturday, says Fletcher? Can you imagine if that was a try in the big game between Ireland and South Africa? Imagine the uproar. Because it's in this game, I feel like there's not going to be a lot of backlash on them. But imagine if it was in that game that they did end up deciding to say play on. We have got there, Timo can only cinnamon for foul play. And it's on-field ref. Because I heard Angus Gardner say, only tell me if it's clear. I heard that comment made right before, and he said we have up until the restart. So I'm wondering whether or not that was TMO looking at, I guess, foul play rather than looking at the try. The biggest rivalry in history, Uruguay was going to win, says Denzel. Now only 5 metres out as well. One thing cannot be denied, and that is the momentum shift that the Italians have got at the moment. They are only 2 metres out from the line once more. I thought you meant stepping, Gareth, but I thought you were using a real fancy word that I just didn't know. So I was like, I'll take his word for it. 2 minutes out from the line now. Sorry, metres, not minutes. One Ignacio breaks us through. Another try for the Italians, and the floodgates have well and truly opened now. The next time Angus Gardner looks at his watch, they'll see that it's time to sod off. Says Sebastian, do you think the All Blacks have a chance to win? I think that there's a lot that they need to work on before we get to the point of the ABs being able to get themselves a victory. But it could be very interesting. See how they go in their next few games. Italy 63, Uruguay 31. You man imagine that being called an Irish try on Saturday. Says Kuno Wick, yeah, there would be a lot of backlash involved. I might have been talking to the touch judge. Yeah, because in that case, you have to wonder what they were looking at, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to sound harsh, but the touch judge would have been in a position over the line to be able to see that straight on. And we called it right from when it happened. We went, that looked like he might have dropped it. But they didn't check. That kick has gone over, 35 points to 17 now. And maybe the TMO drink too much whiskey, says Morley Lagrange. Maybe. He got the 1.5 litre going. See, they're showing the replay of that try, and it was fine. And Uruguay have been overcome now. And I should mention, I'm not saying if that wasn't allowed as a try that the Italians would have lost this game. it's just a concern in terms of the TMO throughout this game and also the refereeing, mainly because we've seen the softest yellow card and we've seen a try that should have been disallowed awarded. Makes me concerned for other games that we've got coming up with this Rugby World Cup. I'm happy keeping on playing Italy. Made that money. I love Uruguay, but go Italy. And also the Italian with the fire emoji from Benjamin there. And these refs having tequilas, mate. They don't see what's happening on the field, says on the fly. And Uruguay have been overcome now. TMO is the nicest job in the world, getting paid to watch rugby, says John. I see that Pitinelli has made his way onto the field. That is for Lorenzo Cannone. Playing number 8. Did also get himself a yellow card earlier on. Looks like Uruguay also making a little bit of a change in terms of who they have got on the field. Amaya going off and Berchesi making his way out there. And Totti, he has made his way on. Poalanga. Right, there's already a little bit of instability in the first scrum. Don't headbutt him. Let's go in and also decide to try in the final. Oh, imagine the scenes. Although it would depend on who got the decision in their favour, wouldn't it, a little bit? Sadly, RIP. Uruguay, says Mark. We have got there, there's a very strong physical Italian team. Says Fleshin. It's like VAR and Football World Cup. They don't mean stuff, says Ashley. Now, breaking off the back, Uruguay. Nice little loop around play here. They did use their back line quite nicely in their first game up against France. Echeverri now. Another boot is flown off. Is that Ardo again? If that's Ardo twice, no, it is instead going to be Echeverri's boot. Italy may stop scoring now, please. I told you 1,000 times the ref decided who wins the World Cup. A lot of money paid to the ref under the table. Says Spider, I don't think there's corruption involved in terms of like the referees being paid or anything like that. I just think it's just there's no consistency. And that's the concerning factor. Uruguay now. Looks like there's another injury, so we will have to stop getting too close to an injured player for the Uruguayans. And I think that is once again going to be Santiago Arata. So that's about the third time that he's been down. This time he's got a sore nose. He had a sore neck last time. This World Cup is rigged. If Ireland got their try in their favour, the Box supporters would rant themselves to death. So he's going to week. Although I feel like if it was the opposite way and South Africa had scored it, the Irish fans would be in that relatively similar boat. Italy are definitely the best of the second tier teams. And I feel the same. My super prediction is going up in flames. Says on the fly there. Okay, 7's trying to counteract through and number 9 runs into him is the call. Come on, Uruguay. You showed you can do it. And watch what you say about the paying refs. You can get into big trouble. Says Ashley there. And Italy doing Uruguay better than France, or doing better against Uruguay than France did. And Ireland got to number 1 with hometown cooking, says RJJ. And coming to Uruguay. You showed you can do it, says Stahl. Now 15 minutes remaining, ladies and gentlemen. Will we see another try for the Uruguayans? If they can score 2 more tries in this last 15 minutes, they will actually walk away from this game with a bonus point. They do need another 18 points, though, to be in the lead in this game. And with the amount of time remaining, it may just be a little bit too much. Don't blame the ref. It's them upstairs. They've got plenty of screens and still get things wrong, says Dennis. And Italy for the win so they can upset their group table, says Enzel. Scrum feed this time to Uruguay. Will be Santiago Arata, who has had quite a few knocks throughout this game. Still will continue for his team here, though. Relatively solid scrum. In fact, a very good scrum for the Uruguayans. They have been told to play it. Ball comes off the back now. Big charging run from the Uruguayan off the back of the scrum. It was the number 20. Do you think Italy can win France? Says Ashley, I think it could be a relatively decent game between those two sides. If we see this Italian side like in the second half rather than the first cross kick attempted, goes into touch, I think that he could have gone for that little bit more there, Lorenzo Pani. He was chasing after it, didn't stretch out ref trouble. Not much from the players, but the bloody mums during grade games and first 15 games were absolute cows, says Peter Wild. I feel like at those lower level games of rugby, the refereeing, like that's the thing, if referees make mistakes in those games, it's understandable. It's still very early on, more than likely in their refereeing tenure, but Yeah, I think it's harder being a referee in lower level games than it is in these high ones because you don't have a TMO. You have to make the decisions on the fly and hope that you get them right. Omichia has made his way on, and also Basso for the Uruguayans. Oh, okay, Arata. He's actually gone over to the Italian bench, so something's been said. More than likely, it's about the fact that he got knocked on the nose and stayed down. He's gone over to the Italian bench area and just had a right big chat with one of them, so I'm not sure what kind of tension's there. In the old days, that would have been a punch-up, but they're not allowed to do that now. Oh, we have got their wires. Number 9, Uruguay angry at the bench. I assume that they said something like, why'd you stay down after getting knocked on the nose? And it was a prop, I think, who was talking to him. So, of course, the props are always the big tough guys. I think it might have been actually Luca Biggie. And True France will crush Italy and have beaten big dogs of rugby, says Dennis. They beat Fiji in the last Rugby World Cup, which I think would be counted as quite a big win for them. Now, Tommaso Allen, ball high again from the halfway line. Uruguay, nicely taken by the replacement from... I think it was Bracesi. He did well under the high ball. And back across to the left. This is where Uruguay, if they want to get back into the contest and get themselves at least 1 point, they need 2 tries. And that's a beautiful flat pass. The loose ball, though, just rolls into touch. We are talking to Latin countries, so you never know, says Fleshin. And also, first time a top team going to feel the heat. Talking about South Africa and Ireland, says Spider Meg. Do you live in Australia or New Zealand, says Brandon. So I do live in New Zealand. It's currently 5:30 a.m. here. So a relatively early morning start. I mentioned about it at the start of the stream as well. So our plan is to try and get the Argentina-Samoa lineups video out before we leave for work. We're going to be pouring concrete at about 7 a.m., which will be fun. And then after that, I think I'm going to be heading... I don't know what I'm going to be doing after that. I think we've still got editing to finish before that. Loves the box supporters, assuming South Africa versus Ireland final, says Peter Wild. But yeah, we'll be going to bed relatively early in the afternoon is the plan, so that we are up at a decent hour. Dogwoo now charging forward. He's a dangerous runner when he's got ball in hand. The Italians still got 12 minutes to work to try and increase their points differential. We have got their way having to use suit and tie too early in New Zealand, says on the fly. Normally, we only have the suit and tie on for the days that have 3 games back-to-back, is normally the plan. Or the opening game of the Rugby World Cup, I believe, was the other time that we had the suit and tie on. But we will probably have it back for the Sunday morning games here in New Zealand, stolen by Italy. They will go back for the original penalty. Do you think Namibia can win up against Uruguay? I think it would be a good game because last time those two sides played, it was actually only about a 1-point fixture between them. No attempt to wrap by the number 18. So I think that is Diego Arbello, who's been penalised. And now Italy will take on the 3 points here. I will probably go back to bed after my son has gone to school. Says Novmum. I hope you did the shuttering for that concrete aim. Says Flesh. Nah, my dad had to do that one because I was up at random hours the day before doing the South African lineup announcements as well as... a couple other videos. So I didn't get to help with the boxing. I am going to be on the rake though, so moving a few tons of concrete. Good fun for an early morning start. Please don't put on the clown outfit for the South Africa versus New Zealand one. Says on the fly, is that the suit and tie is the clown outfit? Or, oh, are you talking about the scream mask? I did have that on at the end of the last one. And that kick has gone over for the Italians, and that will now make the score 38 points to 17. How many minutes left? Currently only 11 minutes remaining in this game now. How does it feel to have the first sunshine in the world, Amish? Says Stull, I mean, it's nice. Normally I'm seeing it after being up for about 10 hours, but yeah, hopefully it's a nice day today. That's a terrible kickoff, unfortunately, for Uruguay. Hasn't gone the 10 metres, so now from the halfway line, Italians have got the choice of either the scrum, which they will more than likely go with. Actually, it's not really a choice. Why do goal kick? Need more tries, says Anoy. Yeah, I would have thought they want to increase their points differential that little bit more. And sad, Uruguay was doing good, says Mikhail. And I did say this last 20 minutes would be the deciding factor for them. If they were able to keep up with that intensity of the Italians, they could have gone far in this contest. But it was around that maybe 55 minutes that they started to slow down Was a questionable Italian try the turning point, or was it inevitable? It was probably a bit of a turning point. I think it was going to happen anyway, though, at some point. But yeah, it's just a shame that that was the moment that seemed like it really took the sails, or the I guess, the wind out of the sails of the Uruguayans. Now breaking off the back again. This time it is going to be Pettinelli. Should mention that the Italians, they did go with the 6-2 split off their bench. Fusco tackled on the halfway line. Should mention this is the first of 2 games that we are going to get to see for Pool A. The other that is taking place will be the matchup between the French and the Namibians. That will be tomorrow morning, and we will be covering that one on the channel as well. What's the best Rugby World Cup game you've ever seen, says Dennis? I could probably tell you the best of this World Cup that almost bounced up for Fusco. It does end up deflecting into touch. I actually like leveling out concrete. It's quite fun. The problem with concrete is getting it to where it needs to be. And because it's going to be in like a paddock, it means that the concrete truck would probably get stuck if we tried to move it. So I think we're going to barrow it, and then we're also going to be screeding it, putting it in the right spot. We have good there. I read that. What's the best game? I think so far the best game of the Rugby World Cup. It's actually tricky, isn't it? Because there's been a couple good games that have taken place. Like, of course, a Fiji upset would be big, but then Australia giving away 18 penalties. Like, it was slightly unfortunate. Do your fingers peel after touching concrete, says Hanoi. I try not to get them on the hands too much, but then I normally, when I'm washing the stuff afterwards, I wash my hands as well, so that it doesn't happen too bad. But yeah, your hands crack a little bit. Right, the whistle has been blown. Spoken like a stern primary school teacher there. The referee Angus Gardner says, no, do not fight, boys. New Zealand Ireland final, not this time, neither the next. Says Andres Lowe. The TMO have been bringing missed events by the refs, specifically on foul play. That's why not tries. Or so why not tries. They've been calling out knock-ons and all. Says Francois. And also South Africa versus Scotland. Says Di. Yeah, although of course we want to see a competitive game as well, in terms of one that went down to the wire, that you felt like at all moments, this one could go. I would say, see, Wales-Fiji to a certain extent, like, even though there was a huge amount of penalties, like the closest of the game, the intensity in the final moments, I'd say really put it up there for people as well. Ball's now going to be fed in. I think South Africa B versus South Africa A in the finals, says Sean. And I South Africa will fall well away side during the quarterfinals, and Andre Van Meulen. Hope you are right. And Chile playing the 26th, being the 26th country to play in a World Cup. Place your bets. Which country will be 27? Ooh. It's a good question. I feel like it would be another one of those European teams. Maybe. That's sneaking. 38 points to 17. Says us Robinson. It's kind of sad to see New Zealand not playing as good as they used to, even though I'm from South Africa. Says Brandon, and all I know is that one team from the South Pole in the final. I have no idea who's the other. A big driving scrum again from the Italians. They have got themselves another penalty advantage. Right, I'd like to see them go for the corner now, rather than going for the 3 points. And France says Young. You see, France-Uruguay to a certain extent could be called as close to match of the Rugby World Cup as well, just because it was a lot closer than people anticipated. And to be, your score still shows 35 points to 17, says Andre G. Hopefully it has updated itself now. And I imagine Wales lose against the Australians in the top 3 in that pool. Has lost the game, says Ashley. And it would be intriguing, because then it comes down to points differential, comes down to those bonus points. We've seen the Fijians receive 2 extra bonus points in their first game up against the Welsh. That could actually be the difference maker for them going through. Now look at Biggie. I've already had lunch, and now I'm here again. Lunch sounds alright, although breakfast sounds better, I'd say, seeing as we are getting close to that breakfast stage here in New Zealand. Because if anyone else in Africa besides South Africa was good at rugby, says cool story, bro. And I agree, I really want Fiji to show us all they've got what it takes to go upset their group competitors, says Denzel. Another knock on. this time against the Uruguayan forward. Do you have a favourite team? If you do, what team says Brandon? I mean, I try my best to be completely impartial on these live streams just because it seems to be that people enjoy when they can listen to the commentary, whether they go for one team or the other without bias coming into it. I mean, I have teams that I've watched a bit more over the last few years. South Africa, I watch all the URC games and everything along those lines. We commentated their games on the channel. New Zealand covers Super Rugby as well. Both Southern Hemisphere sides looking very strong. I have a soft spot for a few of the Northern Hemisphere teams as well, whether that's Ireland, Scotland. Nice pass out wide here for the Italians, now within 5 metres. Oh, ball bouncing awkwardly. Look a biggie. Nice bit of skill there with the boot to be able to keep it on the side of the Italians. Now close. I believe that's going to be held up. Yes, it is. And the goal line dropout can win. At Grace Jalbert is not refereeing anymore, says Zhang. And also we have got there, how's that, Hamish? Sorry, I'm late. Box Y15 says David. Welcome in, mate. You are doing very well. Still 3.5 minutes remaining in this game. And of course, throughout the weekend, we have got a whole heap of other games that we are covering on the channel. France versus Namibia, that will be tomorrow morning. Argentina versus Samoa. Georgia, Portugal. England, Chile. South Africa versus Ireland. That is the one that a lot of people are looking forward to alongside Scotland, Tonga, and Wales, Australia. I feel like we finished with 3 massive games in this Rugby World Cup. Drop kick attempted from the Italians. He's been watching George Ford, except he didn't watch him well enough and hardly made it to 10 metres out from the goal line. Now rush defence from the Italians, not quite working out. Echeverri steps through one. Now Dotti on a cross. Uruguay, nice bit of work there, sneaking through. Out to the right will be the replacement Gatas. Playing number 16 for this game. Cut out pass again from Uruguay. Even though they are down by quite a few tries, they still want to be the last team to score themselves points throughout this game. And All Blacks will come back deadly. Give South Africa in the quarterfinals, says Mark. And also we've got the second half went so quick. Says actually I have cousins who live in Otaki. Says KP. And bad drop goal, says Annoy. You didn't quite get it the way you would have liked. And agree that should be top in the group, or they should be top in the group already, says Brian. Uruguay, they did get themselves that penalty in their favour. Just not quite. Oh, sorry, the Italians got it in their favour, I should say, rather than Uruguay. Nice one-handed take from Rusa. Another offload now. Both sets of the replacement forwards have been very evident throughout the second half. That time it was Zani hitting the ball up. 1.5 minutes remaining. Can Italy get into the 40-point margin? I'm actually going to have a quick look to see what my prediction was for this game. These bockies will end up in the braai with champagne. I think I said that Uruguay would be on no points for this game. I think I went 27-0. So I was certainly wrong there. Go to bed, Kiwi lad. I cannot. I've got still quite a big day ahead. I'm going to be pouring concrete in about an hour and a half. That will probably take about 4 hours or so. It's quite a big slab. And then from there, we got some more editing to do a little bit later on in the day. Nicely controlled by Uruguay. Ardo. Nice piercing run there from Felipe Burchesa, or Burchesi, I should say. That one has now missed the man who is after. Counter ruck from the Italians. They will be able to win the penalty once more. Shame you were tired, Hamish. We appreciate what you do and sacrifices you make. Says Die. And there as well. And what was your score prediction for France versus Namibia? I think for that game, I will have a quick look. I think I went that France will win by quite a big margin. Time for work. Adios, amigos. Says it was Spider Mech there. Yes, I agree. But you feel like Fiji sat back and lost control against Wales. They have themselves to blame. And cheers, Hamish. Good luck with the ball, mate. Cheers. Says Kerno X. So my prediction for this game, I think, was 27-0. Yes, it was. So that was completely wrong. My prediction for France versus Namibia was 56 points to 6. Is that a Samoa on board for Italy? Says Hanoi. Which one we talking? They got a few big boys in their fullback, that is for sure. Speaking of Samoa, of course, going to be playing up against Argentina in the near future. Right, we got time off at the moment, some sort of injury. You okay, mate? Says Angus Gardner, just checking on the inside centre, Andres Villaseca. Maybe he feels bad about giving him the yellow card earlier on in the game. What Irish or South Africa? Says Anelli. Is that for my prediction in that game, Anelli? And thanks a million, Amish. See you later. Says Brian and Paul, Uruguay. Thrown in nicely. Italy 22 metres out from the line. They could kick this ball into touch and say thanks very much for coming. But Uruguay have been able to get the turnover now. Spaced on the outside. Look very close to being forward that pass. But they now move into the half of the Italians. Ball is stripped. Pani thought about the offload. I think that could have been a knock-on in the breakdown. Yes, it was. And that will be the end of the game. Ladies and gentlemen, 38 points to 17. And like and subscribe, says Yvonne. Which Irish or South African players would you have in your fantasy team for Saturday, if any, says Anelli? I actually don't do the fantasy side of things, mainly because I'm terrible at prediction. But there's been a few players for both sides that are looking in decent form heading into that game. Kutli Arinsa out on the wing could be a good shout. Although the question mark is whether or not he can get more points than someone who's playing up against a lower ranked side. Will you be able for that game, South Africa versus Ireland? You might need more than water in that bottle, says Dennis. We will be covering every game of the Rugby World Cup, so the plan is to definitely do that one. And we are going to be starting quite early, looking through at some stats for the last time those two sides played, etc. And we have also got there. Thanks, mate, for the chat and try to enjoy your world, says Ashley there. Right, Arato, he's having a big chat with one of the props. And he was hesitant to shake their hand, but he did in the end. Thanks for the great commentary. Have a great day. And cool guys, says cool story, bro. And that was an enjoyable game, says Selection. Yeah, went by extremely quickly for that contest, to be honest, compared to some of the games that we have seen throughout this Rugby World Cup. Oh, looks like there's still a bit of push and shove going on here. Garbisi getting into the face of one of the locks. Angus Gardner saying, come on, guys, the game's over. Get over it. But it is the win for the Italians, 38 points to 17. They do walk away with the bonus point as well in this contest. And thanks for your work, Hamish, says Christchurch Electrical. There, you are up very early. Morning start in Christchurch, I'd assume. Supplying the power for later on in the day. Cheers, mate. Thanks for the commentary. See you in the next one. Hey, yes, give me the money. Says actually, I enjoyed that, says Robinson. But we do see there, relatively similar with the ball carry meters between these two sides, both getting their own chances throughout this game, but it looks like it is going to be the captain, Mikel Lamaro, who does get the man of the match. There you go, he's taking a photo with him. That will be the end. Job done, Italy. Bonus point win. And thanks, H, says Joe in there as well. So yeah, the next live stream that we have got coming up on the channel, ladies and gentlemen, will be the one that is taking place between France and Namibia. Also alongside that, in about an hour and a bit's time, we are going to have our video going up on the channel of the Samoa versus Argentina lineups, to be sure. Keep an eye out for that. Nuts, says James. And also we have got there, I am back. Admin timed me out. Very bad, that guy, says Master. I have a feeling I know which admin it may have been, Master, but it wasn't myself, I can tell you that much. And thanks, mate. See you Saturday night, bright and early. Go the green team, can't lose, says Dennis. Thanks for the live comments, brother Hamish. Always a pleasure. Cheers, mate. Thanks, Hamish. Enjoying the commentary as always, says Andre there as well. And thank you for the commentary. Definitely see you later. Buenos dias. Good night, says La Chica. And also ITV up here, just straight off, or straight off at that push and shove, says Plishin. And thanks, you, Borta. You are, as always, fantastic. It was a try for Italia. So Lamaro did get man of the match. He did score one of the tries. We also saw tries from Montiuani. We saw a try for Lorenzo Pani, Juan Ignacio Brex, and there was one other try scorer as well. I think he was a forward. Maybe was the last try scorer. In fact, that's going to annoy me that I can't think of who it was. It might have been, Lorenzo Canoni got yellow carded, didn't he? Well done, Hamish, says Mark. As you guys can see, I've slightly slouched downwards in my chair. We sit back up straight, better for the posture, isn't it? It looks like it's been through quite a battle. Valaseki got a yellow card. Virat Kohli, why are the All Blacks B? And well done, Hamish, says Mark. And thanks, Hamish. See you tomorrow, Cheers, Chris. So yeah, we will be back for that game between France and Namibia just around the corner, ladies and gents. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. Also check out those other streams and the video coming out a little bit later on, Samoa versus Argentina's lineups. And we will see you all for then.